Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna try and build this RAK 13302 Meshtastic or Meshcore node. I'll load Meshtastic in the beginning on it. But the interesting thing about this node is they claim it is 1 watt. Well, it's still the standard RAK layout, but it has this chip on it now, which can give us the 1 watt, and that's got a filter and all sorts of stuff inside there. I'm not that technical, so but I'm going to try and build it. So one thing I did see in the comments was, or that came with this, is just running it off USB is not good enough. It has specific power requirements, meaning if you just run it off 3.3 on the USB port, if it wants to reach that 1 watt sending or whatever, it pulls too much power and it can't reach that. So you must run this thing off a battery or external 5 volt. So it has a solar charger over here, and that's a battery connector. But I am actually going to use an external charger, solar charger, and I'll just connect that up to the 5 volt output of this external solar charger. And it has a jumper at the top here, which one says external and one says internal. I'm going to put it on external, meaning I will be powering it externally. If you put it internal, you must have a battery connected. So I'm going to power this externally with this nice solar charger that I got, and I don't know if this will work. This is a beefy one, and I got that because everybody says, oh, the power requirements are so high on these things, so I got that. And I will power that with these two 18650 batteries that goes into the solar charger. And then that solar charger, I'm actually going to put a 5 watt panel on there. Usually I just put a 2 or a 3 watt panel, but I'm actually going to try and put a 5 watt panel on this thing, just so that I make sure I have enough power, because power seems to be a big thing. Maybe, if I build another one, I'll realize it's not that serious. But in here is then going to go the actual the RAK, the solar charger, the battery. That all is going to go in there. Actually, I think I'm going to mount it this way, with those two there. And then they also spoke about a very specific antenna connector to connect the antennas, and much was made of this specific little connector. But when I looked at it, there is these ones you buy of Amazon doesn't say this specific word, and I'll put that on the screen. But if you look into it, it's exactly the same thing. It's just different standards. This one, but what they suggest is this standard. But this standard you get off just the ones on eBay. This IPX connector is exactly the same. It's just by a different standard, but the measurements are the same. So I'm going to put that on there, and so a type N connector, as always, as I usually do, go out the top, and this will then go to the radio, and then I'll just put a type N antenna on there. So that's the plan. One thing that I am going to do extra, which is totally optional, is I am going to add a fan. And everybody's like, why are you always adding fans? But I like it. And here in Florida, it can get 120, 140 inside this case in the sun, when it gets really hot. So I'm going to add a fan at the bottom. And this time I also added this little chip. And this is a normally open chip, and it senses temperature. So when it gets to 107 degrees, it will actually close, and that will start the fan. So I'm going to incorporate that as well, just to be funny. Not a requirement, but I'm going to try and incorporate that into the design so that this thing has a little bit of airflow. So you know, when it gets too hot inside the case, the fan will automatically start. And then how this chip works, if it goes below, I think 80 something, it will open again and the fan will turn off. So that's the plan. And like I said, putting the solar panel on the outside. So let me get started with this build. First thing I'm going to do, of course, like I always do, is just drill a hole for the antenna at the top. This is this type N antenna. And for that, I need a very specific size, and I've got this 5/8. That's the size hole I need to make over there for that to work. So let me get going with that first. Now I usually like you know, my cases to open this way, so the antenna has to be on top here, somewhere here, in the middle, or I'm actually going to make it a little bit off center because I want to put this there and the battery there. So I'm going to put a little bit off center on this one, on this side, just so that it doesn't interfere. And there we go. And let me do my usual cleanup over here. Else I'll get in trouble as usual. So clean up on aisle 5. Okay, let that go in the trash can. Okay, now like I always say, these connectors, these type N's, are really awesome. They have this washer or rubber over here, so that when you pull them against the you know, against the plastic over here, it actually it will actually seal. Now I don't think that goes that way around. I think it goes the grippy one first and then the springy one. I keep forgetting how that works. And then of course this goes on top. So that I am going to, of course, tighten so that it pulls that you know, rubber gasket in quite a bit. So let me get the antenna quickly. So as usual, I'm just going to add a alpha type 915 antenna on top. That goes there. But let me first tighten that nut a little bit. No, this is not the right tool, whatever. So I'm just going to tighten that a little bit. There we go. We can see that the rubber pulls all the way in there, so that's great. And then the antenna screws on top. There you have that. Now I have to drill another hole. That's at the bottom for the fan. And the fan is this one. I have several of these fans. This is just a 5-volt fan. But I also have to drill a hole at the bottom to accommodate the fan. So I'm actually going to use a 1-inch drill over here. And I'm going to try and drill something, let's say over there. There we go. Another cleanup. So let's have a look what that looks like. So yeah, my waterproof case now has 2 holes in it, but one is sealed, but the other one is at the bottom. So, you know, rain doesn't rain up, it rains down. So with that at the bottom, I think I can I'll just glue this this fan on there. and we'll see that, you know, it looks like it will be enough to at least move some air around. Actually, what I should probably do is just add a few holes over here for air holes so that it can suck air from the outside. So I'm probably going to do that quickly, just so that there's a, you know, a way for some air to come into the box. It's not just all going out. So I'm just going to grab this one and just give a, there's one, there's two, and let's make the third one there. Okay, so there's 3 holes where air can come in, and then be sucked out on this side. So that's the plan. I'm just going to do that. Now, I did print these little 3D prints so that I can mount this with double-sided tape inside here. And so I'm going to mount this guy over here somewhere, but I first got to get the antenna on, and the LoRa antenna is right at the top here. So I'm going to try and see what is the best plan of action here, because I don't want to put too much strain on that, because those things are a little finicky. So there it goes, and I think something like that. Yeah, so the double-sided tape that I usually use is this 3M tape. So I'm just going to take a strip or 2 of that. 1, 2. Always clean up when I do this. So there's the 2 strips. I am going to stick them at the bottom here, and I'm trying not to put pressure on the antenna over there, because that is really very delicate. So, and that's usually why I try and do this first, so that I don't have that thing you know, floating around and having all sorts of issues. And I try and get this mounted, the antenna mounted first, just so that I know, you know, that's stuck in a corner there, and it's not gonna, you know, take some strain while I move things around and stuff. So that's just how I think about it. So this is always so frustrating. There we go. The power plugs in there, they come with this very special power plug. You'll see it there. That's what they say you should use, the 5-volt plug. And I am just going to take this guy and mount it in there. And I'm leaving space so that I can plug in a USB cable at the bottom. So if I want to program this. Right, so that goes through. Next is the battery. I'm going to put the battery somewhere over here. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to take 2 strips. 1, 2 strips, and I'm going to stick that on the back of a battery. And this battery holder came with a solar charger, so that was nice to see. I had to buy, of course, the 2 18650 batteries, and I think these are 3500 milliamp hours, so that would make it 7000 milliamp hour battery is what I'm putting on this thing. So yep, there's the 2 batteries. Let's let that guy, I wonder if it's better to bring it not near the antenna, try and keep things away from the antenna. So there, that's now seated. Cool. Then of course the battery goes into the battery plug over here. It has an on-off switch, so you can see where it's on, off. And I did the same thing. I just printed this little holder for it, and I'm actually going to mount that inside the the lid over here so that it doesn't, you know, so, there's no space over there. So I'm just going to mount it inside the lid. And this has two 3.3 or 5 volts coming out here. So I'm going to use one for the controller, one of the 5 volt outputs. I'll put this little, I'll solder this on there, this little connector. So that's one, and the other one is for the fan. So let me do that soldering quickly, and I'll be back. Okay, so here's what I've done so far. I just connected this little connector on here, so that can go into the charge controller. You can see it has this block over here where the yellow ground is in the middle, yellow is 3.3 or orange, and red is 5 volt. So I'm going to plug it in that way so that I get 5 volt and ground. That's for the radio. And then I'm going to do 5 volt and ground, but actually I'm going to unplug the radio first. I wanted to show you quickly the fan before I mount that. And that also, I can do ground in the middle, and maybe I'll just do 3.3 volt for it. So 3.3 volt and ground. If I turn this guy on, and there it's on, and you can see that the fan is not doing anything. So, and you can see that the solar controller is on. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of heat here onto this little chip, and I'll have the name for it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of heat on there, and you can see immediately there the fan starts spinning. So, and that's because this chip reached 107 degrees, and so it will keep spinning. And if I cool it down a little bit, the circuit is now closed, and when this chip finally cools down, you'll see that the fan actually stops. So that's the plan. I'm just going to mount it inside there, and you can see it's on at the moment. And I'm going to mount it inside there just so that it can create a little bit of airflow, when it gets really hot inside there, because here in Florida it gets pretty hot. So that would be the next thing. I'm going to quickly mount, maybe I'll do this last. I'll mount the fan assembly last, because that's really optional. Let me put on the 5 volt over here. It's 5 volt ground, and let's see if we can get the radio to start. So this charge controller doesn't have a solar input at the moment. It's just running purely off battery. If I turn it on, we can see there's at least light on there, and we can see something's flashing. It looks like it's reading. I'm going to have to go load Meshtastic on there to see if it works. But so far that's looking very encouraging. The board is alive. It's got the 5 volts from here, and the whole board seems to be alive all the way down here. This has also got a, and I'll turn it off here, it's also got a Bluetooth antenna, and I'm going to actually connect the Bluetooth antenna as well, because that way I'll get good Bluetooth reception, and that's this antenna, which is a BLE antenna. So I'm going to connect that to, still so much to clean up after I do that. I'm going to connect that to there, and then I'm going to try and keep a Bluetooth out of the way of the radio and everything. So I'm just going to mount it, the antenna, the Bluetooth antenna, to a side over here, something like that. Okay, there's the Bluetooth antenna there. So that's Bluetooth antenna, that's LoRa antenna. There we have the solar. Now let's try and get the solar panel on there. Now the solar panel looks like this, which is, I usually don't use big solar panels like this, but I somehow got to get that on there so that it's adjustable. And this wire, of course, has got to come into the box. So first things first, I am going to cut this long solar cable. I'm going to cut that somewhere over there, and I hope that wasn't too short, but live and learn. And I'm going to strip that, and inside here should really just be two wires, positive and negative. So and that needs to come into the box from the outside. So I'm going to mount the solar panel there. This wire needs to come into the box, and that would be another hole, but that hole I'll seal that with silicone. So I'm going to let's just say drill that hole somewhere over there. So there you go. So the solar panel and cable is going to come through here, and I'll just seal that, and that now has to go into the charge controller, or the what you call it, your solar charge controller. But to mount this properly on the outside, I assume I will have to make a plan and get that on there. So let me make a few markings here and see if I have a marker somewhere that I can use. Oh, I do. I have a Sharpie. That will work. So I'm going to do something like that. I'm going to mark one hole, and one hole. So there's 3 holes. So that's 3 holes I can drill. And then I took it, what comes with it are these little screws, but I cut them a little bit shorter so that they don't, go all the way into the, and touch the electronics on the inside. So they're just going to come through a little bit, but I first got to figure out the size of these. So I was thinking this is about the size, maybe one smaller. I am going to then drill those 3 holes like that I just made. I'm going to drill them there and see if I can get mount the solar panel, the mount or whatever on the outside. So let me get my drill going over here. There we go. So 1, 2, 3. There's one. Let's see. 1. Let's first test it and see that hole is not. Yeah, that looks acceptable. Yeah. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3, just like that. Boom. Time for cleanup again. So here's the actual thing that I want to mount. Now I'm missing a screw over here somewhere. There's 2 of them. Where would the 3rd one have gone? This always happens when I'm busy with something. Something goes missing like that. So, but let me get a screwdriver. That screwdriver is too small. I need a proper screwdriver. So let me get my screwdriver situation sorted out. Right, got all the screws. Okay, let's see if I can get that on there. So I'm bringing out my favorite screwdriver, my wife's screwdriver. Someone always complains about my tools. So again, there you go. I hope you enjoy my really classy tools. So I'm going to screw that in there. So there's 1. And then these two, if I had any idea I could screw somewhat decent straight, there's that one, and then there's the third one. I'm just going to pull them a little bit tight so that there we go, that one, and then this guy. This plastic of these cases are pretty thick, you know, so it's not flimsy plastic or something like that. So on this side you can see then there's the three coming through, but they're not going to interfere with anything. So that way I can now mount the solar panel on top there. So that should work. Okay, let me get this solar panel quickly into the charge controller. So for that I'm going to need a flat screwdriver. I do actually have some nice tools like this case, you know, there's some nice tools, but there's nothing flat in here. These are all. So let me see, do I have a small flat screwdriver? Aha, I think I have one of these. So we're gonna loosen there. That would be, and if I look, that's positive and that's negative. So let's strip the charge controller quickly of the solar panel wires. Sorry, strip the charge controller. Strip the solar panel wires, and you can see nice copper wire. So there's one, and there's one. And I'm actually gonna bend them over like this, so they make like this double thing. That one a little bit more. There we go. And let me get them into the charge controller. So negative on this side. Let me screw that down. There we go. Positive on this side. There we go. Positive on this side. Oh no, that didn't work at all. That completely came out. Okay, let's try that again. Negative and positive, positive, positive. There we go. Let's see. There we go. Negative and positive. Okay, let me mount this. So that can be mounted like that. So there's solar power coming in, and I can cable tie that a little bit. Everything else is on there. Let's quickly see. Yep, we can see that the solar panel, we can see a little light. That means it is actually receiving voltage. Everything there looks good. Okay, so radio's on, solar panel's on. Let me actually mount the solar panel on the outside. So that just screws on like that. You gotta try and do it straight, I assume. So let me. Oh, that doesn't want to go on straight. Come on, man. Don't be like that. You know how it goes when you try and do something. There we go. So I'm going to tighten this a little bit. There we go. Now we can see that the solar panel, of course, not fully on there yet. We gotta swing it around maybe like that. I'm going to tighten that there, and now we can angle the solar panel to where we want it to be. I'm going to tape that, and there's the solar panel mounted to the front of the box. Okay, So again, I'll seal this with silicone, and I'll seal these with silicone, and I'm just quickly going to put a cable tie on this excess wire. So I'll be back in a few minutes. So yeah, here's the silicone that I use. This is the silicone that I use, and here is my little cable tie. So let me just do that quickly. I'm just going to cable tie that down over there, so it's out the way. Boom. And then as far as silicone goes, you know, I will put on the back of his screws then. I'm going to put some silicone so that the water doesn't seep through, and this is very easy to do, just like that. A blob there, and a blob there. Just make sure they're covered. And then, oops, sorry camera, I'm also going to put a blob over here around the antenna from the outside. And I'll also put antenna, not the antenna, the solar power from the outside, and I'll also put a blob on the outside, just so that you know, it's sealed. And that way I know that water is not going to come in from there. The top, the antenna is sealed with that gasket, and these other two are now sealed like this. So the last piece is to just mount the fan. I might just cable tie those two out the way, but let me get the fan in there quickly. So again, the plan is the fan's going to be over here, down the bottom where there's I drilled that big hole, and I am going to maybe just super glue the fan on there so that it you know, you know, can provide some airflow. And this chip, I'll probably just put it on top of the batteries, because that seems to be the most sensitive. If the batteries get to 100, then the fan needs to come on. So let me do that quickly, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Yeah. I had to turn the light on a little bit here to make it, hopefully you can see inside here. But yeah, I've brought out a few more cable ties. So again, there's the rack with 5V going into the charge controller. There's the fan with its little chip, the temperature sensing chip over here that goes into the 3.3V. We've got the solar panel coming into the charge controller, and we've got the 5V and the 5V and the 3.3V. We got the antenna. So the next thing would be to load Meshtastic on here. So I did mount this a little bit higher up so that I can get a USB cable in there. So let me go to the PC and see if I can get that going. So that's the inside at the moment. It is not perfectly, there we go, that's a bit straighter, but it's just double-sided taped in there. I've sealed those. Everything's looking good. Let me get Meshtastic loaded on here. I'm going to connect a USB cable to that, and let's go to a PC and see what that. Okay, so here I'm at flasher.meshtastic.org. I got the nice new UI. I like it. So select target. I know that this thing is a RAK, and I know it's this RAK, this new 1W 3401 1W RAK. So the version I'm going to select is I'll just take the latest stable beta. I'm going to hit flash. I'm going to go through, you know, all the stuff we talk about here. I'm going to enter DFU mode. And basically now, you know, again, this isn't a Mac. I can show it on a PC too, but there's the board that's connected. I'm going to connect. And what that does is it actually mounts a hard drive for me. And you'll see that, oops, goodness, you know, here's a drive mounted. So inside that drive, if we go into that drive, and I'm going to try and go into it, we can see that that drive has some files. I'm actually going to copy the current .uf2. I'm going to make a backup of that so that I have a backup copy of it. And on the site, I'm going to download the new UF2. And we can see it downloaded it. It doesn't know. I'm going to go to the folder, sorry. And here's the folder for that. There's the actual file. So I'm going to take that file and I'm going to drag that onto the RAK. So I'm going to take that firmware and I'm going to drag that onto the drive that the RAK created for me. So we can see firmware goes onto there. And in a few seconds here, it will auto eject. It's gonna, once it's finished copying the file onto there, you saw that I did make a backup of the old one in case something goes wrong. But now I put a new file firmware on here, and that's going to overwrite it. You can see that it auto ejects, and this guy is now upgraded. It has the latest firmware version on it. So that's really what we do on the PC side. Right, so what's next? We now got to see that I combine this with my phone. Let's see if I combine this with my phone. So I'm going to, and this is my phone with the downloaded Meshtastic app. I'm going to turn on the power. We'll see that the board starts up. So this has got a little power switch on there. It's saying the batteries are good. If I hold it up to the sun, we can see that it charges. And I'm going to go into the app and I'm going to go to looking for a device, and I'm going to say scan, and I can see there's a 2B4B, which is a new device. We can see that the default pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do that. It's going to connect, and it's using Bluetooth at the moment to connect to that RAK 1 watt. And we can see that I need to set my region. So I'll go in here to the little cog. I'll go to LoRa, and I'm going to say United States. I'll leave it on long fast. Now this transmit power here says 30, which I believe this can do. This actual board can do 30. So and that's the whole point of doing a 1 watt node. So we can see it's rebooting. I'm going to close there. And it should be rebooted any second. Yep, there we can see it's connected again. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to go into user, and I will say let's mesh.org 1 watt. Let's mesh. Oh, look at that. Let's mesh. Man, let's mesh. Let's mesh.org 1 watt. And I'll leave a short name the same. So now I've given it a name. It's going to, of course, reboot again. And then looking at the device, it's already found one device over here. It's currently rebooting. You'll see it goes red. It's since I changed the name, it's going to reboot and reconnect. You can see it goes orange. It's syncing, not thinking. Why are you thinking about? So yeah, and there it goes green. Yeah, there it is. It's online. And you know, if I look at include unknown nodes. I can see it's found a bunch of other nodes already that it hasn't fully resolved. But yeah, that concludes really the build of this node. I'm going to test it out in the next couple of days here. So it's the 1 watt board in there with a 7,000 milliamp hour battery. It's got a little chip in here that if it goes over 100 degrees, it's going to start the fan. The fan will, it will suck some air in this side and blow out some air on this side. It's got the solar charge controller on this end that's providing 5 volt. I'm not using the onboard solar charge controller of a RAK and not its battery. I'm running it off 5 volt directly, which means I had to set that little jumper at the top. It's got a type N connector on and a 915 antenna. I've screwed the solar panel to the case, and I've sealed everything here with a silicone, and I will have to let that dry now. But basically this unit can close now, and I can go mount that outside on my roof somewhere. There's the solar panel, which is huge, 5 watt solar panel, and the little box. It's got little mount things at the back here, which I'll use. But yeah, I'll give you some updates on what I see, and if the 1 watt is truly a little bit different. But thank you for watching, and again, this is how I build it. But we'll see how it works out, and we'll talk again next time. Thank you for watching.